The loudest generation may be the most vulnerable. Before you listen to this, it may help to start with the previous reflection, when the foundation cracks. Visit link in the body of the post. In that piece, we asked a difficult question. Where did the cracks begin? Because when a building begins to weaken, the visible damage is rarely where the problem started. The fracture often began years earlier, quietly spreading beneath the surface. If you have not read it yet, you can start here. When the foundation cracks. In that article, we reflected on how family structures, fatherhood, responsibility, and the slow removal of God from everyday life may have contributed to the instability we see today. This thought continues in that line. The moment a foundation begins to weaken, the next generation does not simply inherit the structure, they inherit the cracks. And when you look closely at today's culture, something interesting appears. The loudest generation may also be the most vulnerable, not because they are weak, but because they are searching. Let's explore this a little further. Unless we understand where the foundation shifted, we may not know how to repair what is breaking around us. Today, I want to continue that reflection with an observation that may sound uncomfortable at first, but like I usually say, this is my opinion. Only follow if this speaks to your heart or you have seen this and are beginning to sense a burden to do something. Not because I have everything figured out, but because of what I have noticed. Now, I simply do not see a rebellion, but a yearning of a generation searching for identity. Every time a young person argues with authority, every time they say no to guidance, every time they push against boundaries or dismiss wisdom, it may look like defiance, but often it is something deeper. It is the search for identity. It is a cry that is not always expressed clearly. A question that sounds like disrespect but may actually be asking, who am I? What is my place? What is all this for? When a generation grows up without clear anchors or mentors, identity becomes something they must invent for themselves, and that is a heavy burden. The generation that walked away. Before this generation came another. A generation that slowly began to believe something new about life. They believed they had discovered the real formula, the formula of ideas, ideas that could turn lack into abundance, ideas that could create wealth, ideas that could reshape the world, and in many ways, they were right. Entire industries were built, innovation expanded, money flowed in ways previous generations could not imagine. Success became visible, and with success came a quiet shift. Human beings began to believe that perhaps they no longer needed to look upward for meaning. Perhaps they could build meaning themselves. Perhaps they could even worship their own abilities, and slowly, almost unnoticed, the link between human life and its deeper source began to weaken, not violently but gradually. When meaning begins to leak. Imagine driving a car with a leaking fuel tank. The car still moves, the engine still runs, but something essential is escaping, and eventually the car slows and stops, and while the movement was real, the system was compromised. In many ways, our culture feels like that car today. We have movement, technology, money, access, influence, yet something deeper feels empty, and this generation is beginning to sense it. The search beyond money. More and more people are discovering something that previous generations often ignored. While money is good, mourning alone cannot define wealth. If wealth is to mean anything, it must include health. What is the meaning of making money for decades only to discover that your health cannot enjoy it? What is the purpose of achievement if your inner life feels empty? This generation is beginning to sense that something is missing, so they search, they scroll endlessly, they chase experiences, they pursue attention, they experiment with identity. Not always because they are careless, but because they feel something is missing. Another cry for identity. The link we lost. In the previous post, we mentioned something important. When humanity cuts off its link with the Creator, something essential disappears. Not immediately, but eventually. We may still have intelligence, we may still have knowledge, we may still have philosophical depth. I have read many self-help books. I have explored philosophical history. One that stayed with me was The History of the Philosophy of Mankind. It encourages thinking beyond the surface, but true wisdom is not simply sounding intelligent. Real wisdom is often found in something much simpler: obedience. Not blind obedience, but the humility to recognize that human life was not designed to operate independently from a higher order. We were not created to sustain meaning by ourselves. The danger of being smart. One of the most dangerous things a person can believe about themselves is this: I am smart enough to figure everything out, because being smart can make us act too quickly. We speak before we understand. We react instead of responding. We destroy relationships because we want to prove a point. Intelligence without humility often promotes self rather than what benefits humanity. I have seen that many times. The voice of need versus the voice of purpose. Another pattern I've noticed is this: many people are driven by the voice of need, the pressure to escape lack, the urgency to avoid suffering, the desire to achieve quickly. And so they chase what appears to be the good life, but purpose rarely moves at the same speed as need. Purpose is often slower, quieter, more disciplined. Because of this, many people make life-changing decisions driven by urgency rather than clarity, and those decisions can create consequences that take years to repair. A generation that is not hopeless. Despite all of this, I do not see this generation as lost. I see them as searching, searching loudly, searching publicly, searching imperfectly, but searching nonetheless. And perhaps the real question is not whether they are searching. The real question is, will someone help reconnect them to what gives life meaning? A quiet reflection. If this generation is loud, what are they trying to say? If rebellion is present, what question might be hiding underneath it? Have we mistaken identity crises for disrespect? Have we removed the very foundations that once gave life direction? What happens when a society pursues success but forgets meaning? And perhaps the most personal question of all, what voice is guiding your life right now? The voice of need or the voice of purpose? If this really resonates with you, then subscribe to our work so we can reach more people who might need this to help activate who they really are. Like, share, and share again. Perhaps this could lead to the real change we desire in this generation. Grow in silence. Look up for strength. Rise with purpose. See you on the next one.